Hey, this is Zachlog the Great. So, I was recently arguing with a civic nationalist about the current state of America and the racial problems we are experiencing. He said that while I'm very angry and lashing out at these other groups, I'm not offering any actual solutions. I feel something like a young man who was just handed the keys to a grand mansion once owned by his great-grandparents. In the meantime, though, it has been not merely neglected, but horribly abused. It is in almost every kind of disrepair imaginable. Parts of the roof are caving in. The foundation is cracked in several places. The wiring is in such bad shape, merely turning on the power would risk a fire. There's a termite infestation, and for 5 or 6 years, a group of squatters had been running a meth lab in one of the ground floor bedrooms. It would cost more money than I have to repair it. It would cost more than I have even to tear the place down, let alone rebuild. And when I talk to a distant uncle who lived through some of this and express my shock and anger at what was done to my inheritance, he says that I'm just whining and complaining, and why don't I have a solution? For that matter, he's very proud of the previous generation for not getting those squatters ejected. It's proof of their generosity. He won't listen when I point out that there are rumors that they've murdered people. Why don't I have solutions? What solutions would I propose? I really have no idea. I also have no idea how I might propose to fix an airplane with both its engines on fire and the landing gear stuck while we're at 30,000 feet. The outcome, I suspect, is going to be much the same. A horrifying, bloody mess. For a man a couple of decades my senior, to look at someone from my generation angered and horrified by what is going on in this country now, and to demand of us, well, what is your solution? Is cruelty and arrogance. Me. What is my solution? I didn't create this mess. The worst seeds of it were sown in the 1965 Immigration Act over a decade before I was born. And at almost the same time as the 1965 Immigration Act ensured my future as a hated minority in the country my fathers built, civil rights legislation was passed, ostensibly to end the horrible racism faced by black people in America. From then on, we were supposed to be treated equally before the law. We were to be judged by the content of our character, not the color of our skin. But in historical terms, it took no time at all to go from laws specially penalizing black people to laws specially privileging and protecting them. Most particularly, we had affirmative action programs instituted which not only allowed but enforced discrimination against white people. We've also had theoretically neutral hate crime laws which are practically only used against white people. Not for us. To protect us. And from that day, and wildly accelerating over the last few years, we've had the law and institutions of the government increasingly turned against white Americans, the descendants of those who built this country. Now, some people defend these laws, saying that they are to make up for discrimination in the past. But they are never willing to set an end date. They are never willing to say, on June 1st, 2035, we will have achieved equality and racial preferences against whites will be ended. And while conservatives and civic nationalists will get very worked up about unkind words directed towards black people, they can't bother to get up off the couch to do a damned thing about actual legal discrimination against me and mine. Oh, and by the way, I have seen up close and personal the results of promoting black people above their merit. It's a mess. And not only that, but my generation was heavily indoctrinated that ignoring the realities of this situation is virtuous. Ignoring the clear differences between various racial and ethnic groups, ignoring the heavy in-group preference other groups practiced. And when we couldn't ignore them, we were taught to lie. We've been doing that my entire life. And those lies have now become a pseudo-religious dogma which is being used to demonize us. What solutions do I have at this point? Since they, practicing this racial equalitarian ideology for decades, have handed us this absolute disaster, what solutions do I have? I'm going to have to refer to the economist Thomas Sowell at this point. Yes, I'm aware of the irony. He has said many times, there are no solutions. There are only trade-offs. I don't know what we can do. I don't know what the trade-offs are. But I fear that at this point, quite a bit will have to be traded for a future in which my sons survive as free men. Thanks for the inheritance.